Today we got to do a pressure tank replacement. This is for a well system. You can see that's some pretty nasty water coming out of there. Wells, the pressure tank always has a bunch of soupy, kind of irony water on the bottom of it there. That's that. There's a sample of what's in there, but now we're just cutting the piping up. We got to get that tank off of there. We've got to get a couple other things off of there, so we're just trying to remove all the old pieces. There's a piece of rusted pipe right in between there that I'm trying to eliminate. So we've got a little bit of repiping to do. There you go. See, now we're putting a new valve on there. Just trying to get rid of all the rusty crap, get them ready for another 10 years of water service is basically the deal. So anytime you're doing piping with threads, you always want to dope and tape them. You tape 3 times around and then you put dope over it. That's what I'm doing there. And there you have it. That's prepped. Tighten her up a little bit. Way too big of a wrench for what we're doing, but it is what it is. If you're not familiar with a pressure tank is like a mini water tower for houses. Here we're just removing that sample tap. Technically, we're supposed to have a sample tap and a like a hose bib, we would call it. So we're putting a T on here. We're going to put a sample tap and then that other faucet as well. I would love to have this tighter, but I only had that size of a nipple, that galvanized nipple, so it kind of pokes out. It looks stupid, but it covers code, it does the job, so there we go. Now we're back on the piping, figuring that out. I'm just putting in a copper adapter, so I'm going to press copper all the way around. Just makes it easier. Copper is easy to work with for us, so yeah, there we go. Now we just have to get around that corner. Easy does it. A pressure tank install is not an impossible task for a DIYer. When you get into this, piping modification and stuff, it does add a little bit of a issue for the average person's tool set. It's not like we're doing rocket surgery or anything, but there's a few tools we're using here. I could have sweat this. You can easily sweat it if you want to use that method. The ProPress makes it a lot quicker. You will see here in a little bit I'll run into an issue that gets a little bit more skillful, but we're not there yet. All I'm doing is just building that copper adapter to get around that corner. There we go. Press it all together. Mint. All right, now we're trying to remove the tank. All of these tanks have like this gooseneck copper thing, and there's this union. I'm just unscrewing that union, and then the tank should come right off. There you go. Now we're putting the new tank together. There's that gooseneck I was talking about. Pretty simple, just get her tight. The issue that I'm going to run into is the height of the tanks was different at the base, so the gooseneck's not going to quite line up with its original union. Sometimes you can, if you're not constrained by the piping, a lot of times you can just turn that union and that'll raise or lower the inlet. But in this case, we were constrained by it because we've got like the tank is boxed in with the pipe. So I'm trying to manipulate it here. It's not working out. So we're going to just end up cutting it. We're just prepping the cut right now. I'm using like what we would consider sandpaper, just cleaning off the existing corrosion on that copper. There you go. I cut it. I'm using a couple 45s. It's going to give me a little bump back, and then I can also manipulate it for height there. Maybe. There we go. We're just cutting it. Boom. Now it lines up. Tighten that union, and then we'll be able to press those fittings together. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now everything is theoretically tied together, plumbing wise. Good. Now we're just tightening that union. tighten our other pipes. I think I didn't have the wrench I wanted before, so now we're getting to that. But you can see it juts out like 6 inches. I don't love it, but it is what it is. Now we're doing the pressure switch. That's the electrical portion of the job. We're just going to remove the wires. There's 2 hots coming in, 2 hots going out, a couple ground. No, I think it was just 1 ground on this one. Now with this, usually we can keep that pipe nipple that comes off the manifold and goes to the pressure switch. You'll see it's pretty gnarly in a second. In fact, I'll see if I can stop the video while we're doing it. Let's see. All right, we're getting the wiring. There we go. And now we're going to pull this off. And I've determined that the nipple's bad. Now we'll see if we can stop it right in time. I'm just prepping another nipple. Oh no, I'm prepping the wrench here. And here you go. See, that pipe is completely blocked up. You couldn't even get a toothpick through there. I mean, realistically, it was measuring pressure before, but there's not much. It's just so corroded up. It's got a bunch of built up gunk, so it needs to be replaced. That's one of the things with these jobs is, you know, I have an entire van full of inventory. Something like that, you'd have to go back and get it. So, you know, plan for 2 or 3 trips to the local hardware store. But anyway, getting the new nipple prepped. Same kind of deal, pipe and dope. We're going to be putting a galvanized nipple in. They sell brass ones in this size too. Maybe. There. All right, there's our new pressure switch. I'm just going to tighten it on there, and then I can tighten both the pipe and the switch at the same time. That's what I'm doing right now. We don't need to tighten them separately. They'll tighten each other. Boom. Now we're ready for wiring. We're just going to reverse the process. Nothing to it. Getting that in there. Maybe. These pressure switches are a frequent issue too. When you got all that corrosion coming up that pipe, it's bound to fill the, there's just a tiny little hole. It's like maybe a 1/16 of an inch in diameter. And that thing can plug up pretty easy if that pipe's getting plugged up, so. But anyway, we're putting that together, and once we get that accomplished, we'll be all done. There we go, final hot wires going in. Put the cap on it, and that's all she wrote. Thanks for watching.